Hi guys, Aces up here in the big blind with King Jack off. This guy's not uber aggressive, but it's fairly active. I'm going to just defend here, I think. Take a sort of a bit of a low variance path. I could probably have just jammed it in. We are slightly deep. He's not really from he's really from mid, so. And I think, we could always jack this one up to like 16, 20, 22 or something. It's kind of close. But I don't think it's very believable if we do. Because the board would be repping such a polarized range. And the best case, we probably have a hand like 10 jack. Unless he thinks we'd just play a 9 fast, which actually we would, but it's going to fold. Sorry guys, bringing it in a bit late today because I've actually got a bit of a sore throat, bit of a cold. So I didn't want to do too much talking. And just under M9 on the left. And it's kind of an interesting one here. It's actually a free roll with 100,000 for first. This guy defends and is doing so probably against a steal. Well, it says 26%, but so I think I'm just going to bet here. Not really at a stack depth where there's really any merit to like pot controlling or anything like that. We're only under M9, as I said, so the SPR is going to get really small very quickly. Once in a while we might run into King Jack, but I think he probably, let's have a look. Well, I was hoping that he might have a little bit more aggression, because then we can more confidently say that he would fast play. I think he's got, what's he got here? Okay, 9. I think I will bet again. It's pretty close. He's not that aggressive, so he might actually play a draw very passively, which is obviously bad. He could have hands like 8, 9, I guess Ace 3 with a club, which we can get value from. He might just not believe and call with any 8. 4, 10, 12. This guy's kind of short here, so it's a little bit worrying that he has a monster and he's UTG. But I just think, given how frequently he raises and the fact that he's, just the fact that how often he raises here, I think he can, it's annoying. But I think sometimes he can have just like a Ace 2 sort of blocker type situation where he's just stealing. Probably that stack size. That'd be one of those spots where it'd be really good to have raised by stack size, so we can see how often he raises M like 5 to 8 or 6 to 7. And if it's low, then we know we can fold, and if it's at a decent frequency, then we know we can get it in. I think that is the specific hand that I will take. Ace Jack I would actually fold, but I think Ace Queen, maybe Ace Jack suited, but Ace Queen is a hand that I would take there. But it just happened to be bad timing that he had Ace King. And I'd probably take 9s, maybe 8s up as well. 8s up and Ace Queen up. And Ace Jack suited would be pretty close. But I would probably fold, I think, just because he is UTG and only M sort of 6-ish, so it looks very, very strong. But having said that, Ace Queen is, I think, it's just that it's really combining the fact that it's very strong as well, but also just the fact that he may actually be sometimes raising to fold. And we do have an Ace and a Queen blocker, so you never know. Although having an Ace blocker there sometimes isn't, I guess, that really important because we kind of want him to be stealing with Ace X. But he is very active, so although I don't have the stats by stack size, I can I would imagine he probably still raises fairly actively down to that stack size. I could be wrong. I imagine that's sort of his threshold of when he stops just opening and just reverts to either folding or open jamming. The fact that his UTG as well, kind of makes it a good spot for stealing because it looks kind of nutty, which is why I'd only be attacking him, with ace queen up and I'd say eights up, which is pretty nutty range. I don't even know if I'd take eights actually, but definitely nines I think I would take. Speaking of nines, where is the queen? Hey-ya. And that is the end of that chapter, unfortunately. 14th place in that $11 action hour for $150. And didn't have that many good scores today, which is a bit disappointing because it's Super Soft Sunday. Sunday here in Japan. So sort of had pretty high expectations. But we still do have this one here, which is a live wire because there's only 169 players left from 5,577 and 100k for first. And so this is one of the rewards you get. One of the rewards you get when you do a lot of volume. Well, not even a lot of volume, just a decent amount, Supernova Elite. Sorry, not Elite, just Supernova. You get to register for this free roll, which I like. What did they used to do? I can't remember what they used to do. I think they gave away prizes or something. But I think this system is better. Let the players fight it out for their share of the pool. But I mean, there's $1 million in there, so it's pretty good that it's a free roll with $1 million pool. And I used to kind of not take it as serious as I should have because I always thought, well, there's a gazillion players in there, and it's going to go forever, and I'm going to have to run like God to win it. And I used to sort of put it on the outside of my screens, not outside the screens, but you know what I mean. Just sort of on the I can't even think right now. Just on the furthest sort of table from the center, and not really give it too much attention. But today I actually purposely sort of thought, hey, I'm going to play this tournament, because we're in grind mode. That's what it's all about. And this is actually a very good tournament for that. It is. And just in any case, I mean, it's a good tournament. So I don't know why I ever had that thinking before. It's not the best approach to be thinking that it's a second-rate tournament just because it doesn't have a buy-in. I mean, the prize pool is still excellent, so I'm treating it as such. I think it's just because it is a free roll, and free rolls are normally, a gazillion players and you don't win a lot. So there's just like a whole lot of hard work for nothing. But this is obviously kind of a special one, so let's try and battle it out. This player on our left, Nick, is very good. He can do the odd spewy thing, but overall quite good. And Sick Theory on our right is good as well. Kind of want these guys to lose their chips. I think it'll give us a better chance. $160th place is still actually worth, I think, 500. Yeah, still at 500. So, in terms of building the bankroll, I mean, it'd be good if we could finish sort of top 27-ish. Because that's like, what's that, 2.8k, that's a significant increase to our bankroll and keeps us pushing forward towards our target. It's day 14. Just had the 1 day off so far. So I've been grinding pretty hardcore. And definitely won't be having tomorrow off, even though I've got the cold. Just going to try and zone in if I can. And I actually probably took this session a little bit light. I didn't really zone in as much because of my cold. I didn't want to get too drained, and just I sort of yeah, I mean, I just didn't load up too many tables, and just had a few tunes in the background and that sort of thing, and still tried to play good, obviously, but I probably wasn't playing my A game, I think, but I didn't want to get too burnt out since I've got the cold. I wanted to still be a little bit fresh for tomorrow's big tournaments, Sunday Millions and so forth. Because remember last week we didn't play. We did get a satellite through for the Sunday Millions, but we didn't play some of the tournaments because of our role, the situation. We were still in the early stages, and now obviously after a bit more time grinding, we've managed to build that up to a point where we can invest and play, those 215 buy-ins. Now that we're up over the 10k mark, so only represents a couple of percent of our, bankroll. So, and it's nice to have the shot at big money. As it was really what we have here. I mean, 100k for first, 155 players left. It's actually pretty cool when you think about it, when you're in a situation like this. 1 in 155 times from right now, we will win $100,000. It's pretty cool when you think about it like that, When you just stop for a moment, when you're thinking about lotto, and you're like, okay, I have like a 1 in 10 million chance at at winning, a couple of $1 million, but we're talking about 155 players left, 100,000 for first. It's kind of cool when you just stop and think about that for a minute. I've kind of been a little bit nitty in these spots, I think, but I just feel, well, I think, yeah, I mean, I don't think we can, well, it's pretty borderline. Wow, I mean, this guy's kind of tight. That's good that happened. It just makes it so much easier. I was really in two minds. I mean, the thing is that we've dominated a lot, but at the same time, we're only M9 and we're getting 6.5 to 1 with a couple of Broadway cards. We can, make the nuts, but I think I might have called, but have sort of treaded carefully post if we don't flop, if we only flop top pair. And, these guys can have ace queen, king queen, jack queen suited. Very likely, I think, actually, those types of hands in this situation. This guy's hasn't been that loose from early, and this guy's called, just flattered, so maybe it was ace jack and king queen. And those are the sorts of hands that are probably going to fold to that very, very strong looking 3-bet, I would say. Nick's pretty stubborn about his blinds and stuff like that, I think. So I do think I'm just going to fold this hand. We get decent leverage if we open it, but I think he does also jam a decent amount. 5-4 suited does have a PN of 11. So, I mean, you could argue for just open jamming it, but at M9, I think I prefer to have just a little bit more of a buffer. I think we can get a better spot. Even though my rule is normally have like a 10% power number buffer up your sleeve. So if it's 9, you would want 9.9. So, we'd want a PN of 10 if we have M. Well, yeah, you know what I mean. 10% buffer with the PN, so. But, we do have that with 11. We have an extra point up our sleeve, but I just think those sorts of hands, I just think they're, not so much the type of hand, but just the stack size. I mean, just because you can doesn't always mean you should. Because we're M9 and, we're going to get maybe some favorable situations and maybe just pick up pots no risk like this. And so those real sort of deeper M stacks jamming, although they might be slightly profitable, I think they do increase the variance a lot. I mean, Nick could just snap us off there with 7s, and we're just drawing thin and out. And we had M9, we could have, waited and maneuvered a little bit, not much, right now, but we do have a little bit of play, like we just, picked up the blinds and that sort of thing. So if you're M4, 3, 4, even 5, yes, now you'd be more willing to, jam, and if there's variance involved, so be it. You don't have much time. You have to make things happen. But when you're M9, that's not really the case. We still have some time, so. And the possibility too, I should probably add that, these guys could make some mistakes. Because supernovas, I think a lot of people make the mistake of just presuming supernovas are very good. But it's actually often not true. Supernova elite, yes. I mean, you're going to presume that a guy who can accrue 1 million VPPs, which is just an absolute ton in a year, is... I mean, it's pretty hard for him not to be good when he's playing that many hands. But Supernova, I mean, it's really not that hard to get Supernova if you have a bit of coin and you don't mind spending a bit of time playing poker. And I could literally get there in like, what's it, in a month? I think it's 7,500 in a month. I could get there in like 3 days without too much of a sweat. I could get 7,500 VPPs in 3 days if I wanted to grind some cash games, some just multi-table, maybe some Zoom poker, Omaha or No Limit, either or. I wouldn't say that's a super tight fold, but definitely a tight fold. This guy's only opening 12% from early, and we do have almost 500 hands on him, so I do give it some weight. But more than that, he's got a stack size M7 where I just don't know if he's going to be like, stealing from there, very light. So if we said he had 11%, and then we said we had 9s, and we look at the equity, we do almost have 50-50, but I don't know if he is actually going to open like this stuff and this, maybe even this. If he opens this stuff, it's still kind of close. But the problem is that if we jam, if we call, it's going to be pretty hard when he c-bets flops. And if we do jam, we've still got a lot of players behind. But more than that, he's probably not calling because we look super strong if we jam against the UTG Open. He's probably calling with this sort of stuff, I guess. Which we only have 41% equity against. Which, is not far off having the right price with the dead money, I guess, and the fact that he does fold sometimes. So again, I think it's probably positive EV to shove there, but at the same time, it's certainly not a fist pump, and I think waiting for a better spot, which might not come, wow, yeah. Waiting for a better spot is, and the blinds have just gone up as well, so that's probably something I should have considered, but I think it's very close, that spot. And I think in normal play, I would probably just jam it, but I just think I wasn't quite feeling it, to be honest. I wasn't really feeling that, he's been quiet, he's suddenly opened, he's UTG, he's pretty short. I was feeling that he was likely pretty nutted. But I mean, this does represent a pretty nutty range. But he might not have been opening even much wider than that, so 35. Yeah, we can't quite fold here because he's under M2, and M2 you have to call with pretty much anything, virtually. 35, yeah, we can't quite fold getting 2-1. 8-ball. Can't quite get lucky there. It's a little bit annoying. I mean, he's only under M2, but it just, in terms of stack, maneuverability. It does put a little chink in the armor, so to speak, because now we only have M5. I'm not really regretting the M9 though, the Pocket 9's fault though, I think. But it's definitely really close. Yeah, I mean, what I said I wanted to happen was the players on our left and right, I wanted them to lose their chips, and that happened. But we lost our chips as well, unfortunately. So Queen 7 is pawn of 6. I will be folding it. I do like to use a calculator in this spot. 183 divided by 34.5. Just to get an exact M, 5.3. Okay. I think I will take this, even if the walrus opens. We have a decent hand with a little bit of fold equity. He doesn't appear too loose, so this is quite close. But I just think we can't quite fold it. I mean, he's probably folding a decent amount, and when he's calling, I mean, he might call with like 6s and 7s and ace 9s, and pretty hard for him to call with Jack Queen. I think King Queen he might though, which is bad, and Ace 10 he might, but they're the only two hands that dominate us too with this hand. I think is Ace Queen and Ace 10, and maybe the King Queen if he calls. Which is kind of good, I mean, I think that's a better hand to have than having like an Ace 4, Ace 7 would have been pretty close. I think they're going to be dominated more often. Because calling, like I said, with probably Ace 9 up, and well, I mean, we're only M5, so he's probably calling Ace 8 up. He might even call with Ace 7 suited. I mean, I'm just speculating. I don't know this player and the walrus, so I'm just obviously just purely guessing, just as a kind of trying to give him default what I would sort of anticipate a no name. Well, he has a name, but a player I don't know how they might respond. You see that Simonic does just jam now, and he's M7, well, slightly under, 6.5, which is very interesting, I think, because I do think that he's more likely to jam Ace King and Ace Queen, Ace Jack suited maybe, King Queen suited maybe like 8s, 9s, but just raise, and that's something he did do before, was just raise. So he could have had a big pair like pocket 10s up. I think is 10s or jacks up is the sort of hand that you would prefer to just raise to try to solicit action, whereas Ace King to an extent, but Ace King can have a lot of times. It's hard to know what your equity is on the flop, whereas most big pairs, it's not that hard to realize your equity. I mean, if you've got jacks and the flop's Queen XX, you're like, okay, yeah, if he's got the Queen, I'm pretty much screwed, but, barring that, I'm probably in good shape. 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, and 7s is 58. And we'll just do a quick check, 241 divided by 36. Yeah, I will just jam this. And I think raising is okay. The thing about raising, if we raise and it's like jam, then we can actually probably fold and hope that they don't show us Ace King and Ace Queen or something. But it would still be close. So if we times that by, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players behind. So it's a PN of 46, and 7s is 58, so it's just a little bit too clear to be contemplating, folding, and I don't really want to raise fold, so I can raise call off if someone jams, but that's kind of playing with fire a little bit as well. The other thing is too is that, I mean, someone might just call, you know, especially the blinds. One of the blind guys might just call. Problem with that is that sevens obviously flops really badly, and so it'll be pretty easy for us to get owned post flop. I feel like he's probably going to fold again. He did just snap min when the action got to him. Our jam was a little bit bigger this time, pretty much commits his whole stack. I think that in this situation he could have a hand where he was probably committing to Nick, but maybe not committing to our jam. And I did jam it in fairly quickly. I don't think there's too much point in sort of waiting. It looks like he's folding. It's pretty close there. I mean, if he calls, we're probably not even that phased if he does happen to call. Because you could have Jack Queen suited or King Queen, King 10 suited, Ace 5 suited, and you know, the hands that we're doing pretty good against. Even if he's got like pocket deuces. Obviously we're doing, once he tanks, obviously we do well against his whole range. Another sort of slightly tight fold here. This guy M7 just minned and he's been very tight. Let me see, he's only opened 4 of 30 hands. Pretty close here. If we can't really open, I don't think, quite yet. It's a little bit annoying having Nick behind us with that stack size, because he's probably going to be jamming, you know, pretty eager to jam. And he does have M4-ish, so he does put a little dent in our stack. And we really want to break 3 of that threshold where we're just, that sort of closing in on that second pivot, M sort of 10 to 12, 13. We really want to get up sort of M14, 15 if we can. That way we can, you know, 3-bet to fold, and we have a few more bags that, you know, we have our bag of tricks with us. We can open, and if we get 3-bet, we can 4-bet shove as well. Whereas now we don't have any 4-bets, and, you know, if we open, we're almost so short that players probably are just going to raise commit to us. But we can still certainly 3-bet obviously opens, as we have been doing, so we'll continue to try to use that weapon and try to get away with a little steal or two if we can, but I'd probably want to have a blocker or something to try it, and a fairly tight player in the blinds, because we do have sort of these players behind that are at that sort of jammy stack size. Interesting that the guy I said was kind of tight there has been kind of tight open from the second and then folded to that jam. And M8. So that's that, guys. Quick break, and I'll be right back and see if we can get a little bit closer to victory in this one.